Let's get into it. I like to see this. I tried to make this video once. It got blocked worldwide because of the fact that I was calling out Jon Stewart on his trickery, on his dishonesty, on the fact that he is someone who is very much hiding his biases and acting like he's someone he is not. Now, I coupled that with Tucker Carlson calling Jon Stewart out. It's happened again. Tucker Carlson and Patrick Bet-David were sitting down for an interview, and Jon Stewart came up because, Patrick was like, you should have a sit down with this guy again, an interview. It'd be cool. And Tucker was not feeling it at all. Tucker had a lot of things to say about Jon Stewart. I couldn't agree more. I can't show you what I was going to show you, but I'm going to explain it to you after the clip is done. Because there's something that Jon Stewart did recently that I just felt captured the dishonesty that I was talking about in the video that I tried to make before. Let's get into it, folks.
You're eventually going to lose your best talent to elsewhere that knows how to do that. And number two, the divas are always going to be scared of someone like you, because that's the one thing they don't want. They don't want to go to a place to be like, hey, here's what I need you to do. And then what eventually ends up happening is the following. Eventually, look at Fox's reputation. You got Bill O'Reilly, you got Beck, you got Megan, you got you. Okay? What do all four of you guys have in common?
I know them all.
Of course you do. You guys were all number one. You guys crushed it on cable TV for God knows how many years. And you guys all had a ugly falling out at the end. Fox has to rebuild that reputation if they want to attract talent like that. If not, what they're going to end up catching themselves doing is, especially at a time where more people are realizing, I don't need you. This is very problematic. Like, it's not like the leverage is on them. They can, the way some of these media companies are acting today, they could have gone away with that 20 years ago. You can't today. Because talent has a choice. They didn't have a choice 20 years ago. Where am I going to go 20 years ago? Think about it. 20 years ago, if I'm working for CNN or MSNBC and I got a show, and Rachel Maddow and whatever, Brian Stelter and, all the guys and all of a sudden they go super left and you're in between the Maddow show. Boom. You know what? I just don't think they have a place for me. This guy's done.
Wait, that actually happened to me.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm reading. And so
I was like, that sounds so familiar.
Right. And then Jon Stewart, well, let me tell you, you just got to stop. By the way, that would be a very good, interesting podcast if you ever do with Jon Stewart.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it would be. I mean, it would be interesting. I want to be a good sport about it.
I think the world would watch it.
Yeah, I mean, the world would watch all kinds of ugly things. But I just try to think. I have such contempt for him. I guess maybe that would make it hard. I like interviewing people I disagree with. Chris Cuomo, I interviewed, and I totally disagree with Chris Cuomo on so much, and I've made fun of him so much. I've been really mean to him, but I don't have contempt for Chris Cuomo at all, actually. But Jon Stewart, I have total contempt for him. I think he's like, I have no respect at all. And I never have. And that hasn't changed in the 20 years since I last saw him. So it's hard to interview. Have you ever interviewed someone you have no respect for at all?
Of course.
It's hard.
Of course it is.
I don't like it.
It's not easy.
It's like, I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
It's not even your real name. Like, everything about you is fake. You're just fake. And you're kind of a dumb person posing as a smart person. Like, everything about it. Ugh, barf. So I don't know if I could do that.
No, I understand. And I can only imagine, because I'm the viewer. I'm not even you to know what the real context is.
When I interviewed the creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti, he's a very menacing person and, not a great person, obviously. And I totally disagree with him. On the other hand, he had kind of an energy that I didn't disrespect. I mean, he's just like a very energetic guy.
Right.
But Jon Stewart's like a freaking NPR listener who takes it seriously. He's just like, I'm just so over that. It's so mediocre.
You know what would be interesting about it? Because from the scene of him coming and trying to bully you guys to where you are today, you won. That's the point.
Well, I thought I won then.
Well,
shows I'm a little out of it.
But you may have won.
Oh, I lost in the court of public opinion for sure.
Right, that's the part. But today, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah. So you were talking about the media business, and I'd asked you. You said October 7th really split conservative media. Yes. It did permanently.
I like how he switched the topic there. Tucker really, really has no time for someone like Jon Stewart, and I am all here for it. Of course, as always, I always let people know what my biases are. I feel tricked by Jon Stewart because when I was younger, I used to go in for what he used to do. I used to really like it. I used to see, back in the day when I was younger, I was smoking every day. So, you're just lit up. You're just sitting there watching Comedy Central, and all of a sudden this guy comes on in between Crank Yankers and like South Park or something like that. And next thing you know, you're like, yeah, this guy's telling it how it is. But in reality, what he was doing was finding an audience that was vulnerable and young, with Comedy Central. Not too young, but young enough, impressionable enough. And I'm not talking about kids, but you know what I mean. Younger people. And he was taking that young, impressionable, if you were like me, you were high, audience, and and pushing this left-wing ideology on us. And a lot of the times we didn't see it as such because he always presented himself as someone who's in the middle of things. He's just a guy who stepped into this political arena and he's like, "Whoa, I'm going to call it all out." But in reality, he was a guy who's very much a leftist, who's going to touch on certain things on the left, and he's going to stab and dagger at things on the right. And that's very much what he does. And it's very dishonest. I don't like that. I don't see many other people do it, but I like to talk about my biases. I like to talk about the fact that I like Tucker Carlson quite a bit. If I'm talking about Rogan, I tell you my bias. If I'm talking about Trump, I'll be wearing a Trump shirt. You understand my bias on certain things. But I still try to come rational, I still try to I'm not somebody who's like, I'm going to bring it up both sides. I'll touch on a little thing here, but if I'm talking about Trump, hey, guess what? We're talking about Trump. Too bad. You got enough other media talking down on Trump. We ain't doing that here. And I'm very open about it. You know what I mean? But Jon Stewart's not. He's not. And the thing that he did that I was trying to show people was that he recently released an episode talking about conservative cancel culture. And what he did was he talked about I believe the gentleman's first name is Harris. I want to say Butker. He's a kicker. He made a speech and the left started pushing to get him canceled. They pushed very hard. Chelsea Handler, all sorts of celebrities were making videos about it. People on social media, people on TikTok, leftists, they were crying about it. And it got to the point where news outlets started picking it up. And the NFL actually announced that they were distancing themselves from him. Okay? And Jon Stewart's talking about it like, he actually says the words, these conservatives are so thin-skinned. Talking about conservatives, they're so thin-skinned. And they have this victim mentality. What? People on the right? Thin skin and victim mentality? It just doesn't check out. Not from what I've seen. I don't know about you. Cancel culture is something that formed in the left. That's a leftist brainchild, in my opinion. I've seen it on the left countless times. There's so many people that have been fired. Gina Carrero was fired for making her pronouns in her Twitter bio boop, beep, bop. She got fired from a show. She made some other posts that they deemed transphobic. There's been so many people. So for him to act like, and what he said was, what he was showing a compilation of people in Fox News saying, why can't you say things like all lives matter? And then later on, that same person is saying all lives matter. Or, just things like that, saying this is the thing they say that you can't say. And then you'll hear the host actually say those things like a week or so later. And he's comparing that, just the fact that they could say that, to this kicker being thin-skinned, and all of these conservatives are so thin-skinned because of the myth of cancel culture. He chalked it up to just people saying things on the internet. But again, the NFL actually distanced themselves. People are actually getting fired. I don't have to tell you about this. You know how many people get fired all the time on the right and the left. That's where the term comes from when you say the left eats their own. It's when someone on the left gets canceled because they're not far enough left. It's ridiculous. And then he had the nerve, little passionate here, he had the nerve to actually say that if anybody is perpetrating cancel culture, it's MAGA. I'm not making that up. That is a quote. He said it's MAGA. He didn't say it's Trump. He didn't say it's conservatives. He said it's MAGA. He's saying the people who are MAGA, Trump supporters, are the ones who are perpetrating cancel culture. And then his example of that was Chris Christie getting booed. Another person who is talking down Trump at a rally, at a conference, them getting booed, people getting booed. So his example was this kicker where a actual sports association company, massive company, is distancing themselves from this gentleman because of what people are saying. People actually getting fired, and then some politicians getting booed because they're at Trump-focused things talking down about Trump. It was so wild and so dishonest, and just trying to take it and just manipulate it and say that cancel culture doesn't exist, and if it does exist, it's perpetrated by people who criticize Trump. It only happens to people who criticize Trump. It was such a wild thing to say, but that's what Tucker Carlson is talking about. That type of dishonesty. That's the thing that makes Tucker Carlson call him fake, call him pathetic, say that he has no respect for him, and the ultimate insult that I'm even wary to repeat is that he is an NPR listener. That's a little far. That's not something you say about another man. Those are fighting words. I don't know what's going to happen to Tucker after this. I don't know there might be a celebrity boxing match coming up. There might be a celebrity boxing match on the rise. I got all my money on Tucker. I would love to see that. Because Tucker's going to get trained by Joe Rogan. And Stewart's going to get trained by, I don't know, Biden. Maybe Karine, Mean Gene Karine, Lion Machine. Maybe he'll get trained by her. I don't know. But I got all my money on Tucker. I would pay big money to see that. Everybody's talking about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Forget about it. I could care less. Give me Tucker and Jon Stewart in the ring. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. But yeah, Tucker Carlson, man, this feud is not going to stop between them. And you know what? If I was Tucker, I don't know if I'd want to stop that feud either. Not just because Tucker won, because clearly he won. I mean, Tucker did not have to go back to the show that he claimed he retired from or was fired from. Tucker went and built a company and became the biggest thing on one of the biggest freedom of speech platforms, X. And he has his own network now, which is only going to grow. He literally went from having 3.8 million viewers a night to almost, I think he surpassed 1 billion views on X. And it's only been a year and 3 months. Just saying, the growth is just wild. So not just because he won, do I think that he should not keep the feud going, but I could understand why he's still mad. Jon Stewart went on record to take on the lockstep script of CNN and MSNBC when Tucker interviewed Vladimir Putin and said that he's not a journalist. Jon Stewart is saying about Tucker Carlson, this guy's not a journalist. After he interviewed Vladimir Putin, solely because he interviewed Vladimir Putin. Jon Stewart is a propagandist, a straight up propagandist. Very, very dishonest guy. So I'm very glad Tucker got at him like this. And that's my TED Talk, people. That is my TED Talk. I don't know, man. Once I started seeing what was going on and started learning, Project Mockingbird and all the things that you learn when you're watching the mainstream media very closely, and then you turn your gaze to him, I'm telling you, watch them side by side. Go check out what MSNBC and CNN have to say. I know it's hard to watch MSNBC. I know. Believe me, I know. Relax. You don't have to. I'm just saying you could. Go check out what their talking points are on a subject. See if Jon's aren't the same. I guarantee you, 8 times out of 10, you're going to see that Jon has the exact same talking points as MSNBC, CNN, ABC. That tells me enough right there. That's just me. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and other than that, I'm out.